warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you. Actually, right now are tuning to Daily Fix, a podcast, and we are doing this in Nebbi Municipal. And of course, we're talking about a big day in both Europe and of course in Africa, or maybe Uganda in particular. We're talking about Nebbi. When I'm talking about big day, because there is a weekend, and of course in Europe there is always big games that are happening in English Premier League, La Liga, French League A, Bundesliga, and the rest of the league in Europe. And talking about Uganda, Premier League is also ongoing. And of course, we are at Nebbi, that is at the grounds of team. And Nebbi Central, we're talking about low grounds. And here we are witnessing a big game today in between Arua Hill and that is team Nebbi Central. But before we do that, by names, you can call me Uncle Ram, Uncle of all nations, and I do it for Daily Fix, a podcast. That is the sports show that we do every single weekend when we have it at around. And not only me, I have my brother, that is a Frank Rojja, next to me. Frank Rojja, good evening, and how are you?
Yes, good evening, Ramsey, and plus our viewer who are viewing us on our Daily Fix podcast there on YouTube, plus other guys who are catching us. We are yet welcoming you to another edition of the big encounter which is coming between the Congolos, that is Arua Hill Sport Club, plus one team that is Nebbi Central Football Club, where last season they didn't manage to pursue their dream to go to the big league. Nevertheless, but this time they are trying to prove themselves. So it's going to be a tough encounter between the two teams. Before we go to tactics, Ramsey, first talk something a little bit about this game. How do you anticipate today encounter between Nebbi Central and Arua Hill, given the fact that this time around we have their coach, that is Charles Livingston Babazi, aka Jose Mourinho, in the round, plus clusters of the teams and also the players that have moved with the plus also Nebbi Central. How do you view this game before we go further?
Yeah, Frank Rojja, it is going to be a very big game in between the two sides because talking about a team in Arua Hill, everyone knows them for their good display. And having a very big tactician, many times him as Jose Mourinho of Uganda, and that is a Charles Livingston Babas. We saw him doing it at Wakiso Giants, he did it at Barara, even did it now in Arua. So that tells you clearly he's not just an easy coach, he's a very big coach. And of course, we saw the first game they played in the league, Taming beating a team in KCCA by 3-1 at the Lions Den. That actually Leopards Den in Arua Barifa. That tells you clearly they are not just an easy team to talk with. The last time this team played Nebbi Central, that was at Arua. They played, I think they won, and of course last month we saw them playing here. It was goalless, and that was without their main coach, that is in Babazi. But of course Borini was around. But I think this time around Babazi said I need to be around and see how this Nebbi Central played that game. But all in all, like your question asking, how do I look at this game? This game is going to be one tough one in between the two sides. But I believe there is one big team with a big pedigree, and the other one is a young team in Nebbi Central. But all in all, these are all big teams in West Nile, because Nebbi Central, when you talk about regional league, they also don't need an introduction in regional league. And for Arua Hill, they're doing it in the big one, that is Super League. So that's tell you clearly it is going to be a tough game in between the two. But Frank Rojja, before actually we look at the team news of both sides, let's talk a little bit of English Premier League. The league is coming back, and there is a big clash happening on Sunday in between the team that is Manchester City, that is really so unstoppable currently, and taking on a team which is a little bit struggling, though they pick a maximum win against Rangers in Champions League. What do you think in this game between Team Liverpool and the Citizens come this weekend at that is Anfield?
Yeah, Ramsey, I think this is a big question there need to be answered, because when you look at the two giants which are coming on Sunday tomorrow, and that is exactly 6:30 p.m. It's going to be a tough encounter between both the two teams, because when you look at Liverpool seems to be crippling, given the fact that last time we saw them went to Scotland and they managed to pick a maximum point plus also a maximum goals. That tells you that Liverpool is trying to prove, even though they've got in clusters of injury in the team, a lot of players were in sixth bed, but that won't stop them from playing against Manchester City. But when you look at on the side of Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, you remember last time when the Manchester City player against Copenhagen, Denmark, he managed to lay one man, that is Erling Braut Haaland, who is the top scorer currently, scoring in goals like he has never scored in before. Probably it's going to be a tough encounter. Anfield has not been a good hunting ground for the big boys, the likes of Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool. you look at that ground like not an easy ground. Probably I think it's going to be a tough encounter. But when you look at the players on the side of Manchester City, you talk about Phil Foden, we got in the team. You talk about Kevin De Bruyne, Ike Gundogan, who knows how to dictate the tempo of the midfield. Plus, couple of interesting players. Talk about one man, that's Rodri, who knows how to do a sitting there in number 6. Probably Ramsey is going to be a tough encounter, but all goes to the coaches, the tactics of coaches, how they will be dictating the tempo of the game, how they will be reading. Because I know, all in all, my heart is telling me I'm seeing Manchester City might be surprising one team that is Liverpool, given the fact that they want to put pressure on Arsenal, because Arsenal are also going to be playing earlier around at 4 p.m. So I think it's going to be a tough encounter between two guys, Ramsey.
It's going to be tough encounter in between the two guys, of course. I give a big point that one player, that is Erling Haaland, who is the current top scorer in the league, rested against a team in Copenhagen. That tell you clearly is going in the game against Liverpool when it's fresh. But of course, the best team will always take the day. But all I can say, that game is going to be in blood. And of course, any team can go with that way, not just Manchester City, but even Liverpool. With the level of pedigree they have against big boys, they can always pick up anything because they don't want to lose against Arsenal, against Manchester United, again, Manchester City. That will be bad for the man. That is a Jurgen Klopp. Let's leave that just in a minute. Talk a little bit of a Manchester United and Newcastle game. And that is happening tomorrow at 4. A little quick.
Yeah, Ramsey, that's also another question need to be answered. Manchester City, Manchester United welcoming one team, that is Newcastle United, the Moneybags. When you talk about the clusters of players they've got in the team, I talk about Alan Saint-Maximin in the team, I talk about Bruno Guimaraes in the team. Also, there is another young lad, the Swedish striker in the shape of Alexander Isak in the team, and also Kylian. There is one guy that is the right back who has been playing straight at one team at Atletico Madrid. I'm trying to forget his name. Trippier in the team. Probably is going to be a tough encounter because when you look at the club, Newcastle United, they are behind Manchester United with the difference of point. United sit 5th and then them Newcastle United sit 6th. That tells you that it's going to be a tough encounter between the two teams. But how it will be, how the two coaches, Eddie Howe and Eric Ten Hag, will assemble the team, and then at the end of the day, we shall see who will be dictating very well the game. Then we'll be moving with the 3 point tomorrow.
Thank you, Frank Rojja. That was a brief about Team Manchester United and Newcastle. That is for tomorrow. And the same time tomorrow, 4 p.m., we shall be witnessing a team in Arsenal who will be vying to take on another stubborn side in Leeds. And of course, if Arsenal gets that win, definitely they will be still consolidating their stay in the top. And of course, that is leading the log of English Premier League. But of course, that is not why we are here. We are definitely here trying to analyze something little about Regional League. Frank Rojja, reports are coming that on Daily Fixer podcast that Regional League is coming back this very month. And how do you see this league coming over? Of course, following what happened last season, we saw the league ended so well. Controversial issue over issue with our referees, how they were messing up the games. How do you see them doing it this time around since the league is just coming up? Maybe a little view about the game in only a minute.
Ramsey, I think if the regional league is resuming, that's also a big news for the West Nile fraternity, given the fact that it has been a big day being waiting for that tournament, which is said to be resuming probably on 29th of the month we are in, that's October. I think a lot of teams like from Greater Nebbi, we talk about by the Black Angel, by the United, Alangi Super Mix, Nebbi Central, Offspring, Pakwach Super Eagle, Pakwach Youngster Plus Pajobi. They've done a lot of recruiting in numbers of players. Probably, I think by the 29th, all teams will be set to go, given the fact that when you look at last season, it has been with a lot of controversial saga. We had both internally and externally with coaches, plus also the referees, where the officiation were not balancing and also genuine. Probably this time around, I think the regional league is going to be intense, given the fact that Offspring have also scouted the numbers of interesting players. Talk about Sawona, who they have signed from one team, that's Pakwach Youngster, a proven top-notch goal scorer there in the shape of him, plus Nebbi Central too also have acquired in numbers of interesting players. Talk about one man, that is Beroshan Ronu, they have acquired from Black Power. You talk about Bolingo, we know him. Then also with their key man, that is Kiria, whom Nebbi Central signed from Pakwach Super Eagle. I think the regional league is going to be so interesting, plus one team that is by the Black Angel and other neighborhood teams.
Thank you so much, Frank Rojja, for that brief about Regional League. But of course, my team to watch this time around is going to be a team in Pajobi and a team in that is Paida United, not forgetting Ochoko and Kuluvakos. Those are the new boys in the league, and we shall wait and see what they will do. Chap, chap, Frank Rojja, we need to talk about the game which is today. And of course, we already talked about it in a brief, but I think more about the game, we shall finish it later on after the game. But of course, we can see the teams are getting set. They're already getting in the line. Of course, I can see the boys of Arua Hill are changing for the game now. And Nebbi Central 2 is getting set. Following from what happened last time between Nebbi Central and Arua Hill, you saw the game, and of course, the game ended goalless. What do you expect today in between the two teams? And maybe you can help us what you think the coach of Team Nebbi Central will come with in the lineup. Chap, chap.
I think Ramses today we expect a lot because given the fact that Charles Livingston Babas is also on the touchline, that tell you that he has come for mission and also he has come to tear Nebbi Central apart. Given the fact that there are some couple of interesting players missing, the likes of one man that is Gaddafi Wahabo is not in the team. Then their main captain that is Pierre Matasaka, Rashid Tower in the team. Probably that will tell you that might be some changes he has made in the team. Given the first game which ended in a goalless draw with a lot of controversial him. That is Tower plus Wahabo had probably is going to be a tough encounter. Then when you look at on the side of Nebbi Central, a lot of key players have resumed back in the camp and they look so fresh in the team. Talk about Kiria, we have we have Swale who had a saga on his contract also has come back in the team. Probably I think if he might line up in goalkeeping department, we might be seeing Jakisa in the goalkeeping department. Then on the defensive department, to the right we might be seeing one man that's the captain, Ayo Selector to the right, and then to the left we might see one man that is Dante. Then the pair of two that is the centre back, we might be seeing one man that is Ronnie and one man that's Rotumiyong again in the centre back. Then in midfield three where there will be a lot of challenge on my side and a coach that is Effie, I would start with one man that is Bolingo. Francis also might be in the team, but I'm seeing Francis not around the team. I might start Bolingo, I might side Fred Watango and one man that is Boke in the team. Then in the wing side, I think Nebbi Central are coming 4-3-3. And then to the right, we might be seeing one man that is Adrico Isaac. And then to the left, then Kiria will be leading the attack in the game which is coming today.
Big one, Rojja, big one, of course. On the side of Arua Hill, my boy, always, I like him, is one of my favorite footballer in Uganda or in Africa. That is Kawawa Rashida Olu. And of course, the man is back in the team of Arua Hill. The last game he wasn't around. And today we are missing the services of Per, like you mentioned. And of course, talking about the man that is Gaddafi Wahabu. But of course, when you look at the players like Vuni and the entire squad, looks very set for this game. Gerega Atendele is in the team. And the other players are all in the likes of Fogwang, Sekamate. These guys are fully back. And maybe certain matter of two. I'm not seeing him in the line. But I believe Arua Hill is here. They are ready for the game. And all in all, what do you say in between Arua Hill and Nebbi Central? Just your prediction.
I think it's going to be a tough encounter between the two teams, Nebbi Central and one team that is Arua Hill, because Arua Hill need something. They want to break Nebbi Central apart. I think my heart is telling me the game might end in 2-1 in one of the two. 2-1 in one of the two.
What do you mean in one of the two? 2-1 has to come from at least a side.
Yeah, I'm seeing a surprise win this time around for the Arua Hill.
My man seems not to be open in what he's saying, but of course he finally pulled it out that Arua Hill will be moving with the 2-1 lead again as a team in Nebbi Central. But all you have to know, this has been a daily fix, a podcast that we do it every single match day, and of course both Premier League, both Ugandan games, and of course Nebbi. But leaving that at that, it has been a Frank Rojja on the D, and me myself call me uncle of all nations. Frank Rojja called himself a Mwana Chibuga, so I don't know if he's not a Mwana of a Nebbi, but he says he's a Mwana Chibuga. Meanwhile, you call me uncle of all nations, meaning I am your uncle wherever you're watching us live. And the man, the producer behind everything happening, is the man, Mas Manas, the only tiny boy in town. And of course, let's wait and see what the big game in between Nebbi Central and Arua Hill can solve. We meet again later. Adios.